What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Magic Dads podcast. It's part two.
Part two.
Season of Zoe.
You can tell that
I told
we haven't
you
changed
we were going
clothes.
to talk. I told you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we literally have not moved. I told you we were going to talk about Zoe more.
Yes.
First, so we left you with a little bit of a cliffhanger last time. We said we were going to talk about the season points leaderboard.
Yes, sir.
And then we made you wait. We made you wait a week. We are going to talk about that. But first,
Anticipation.
what is the leaderboard? Anticipation. What is the leaderboard? What are we talking about? Well, this is the Lawn Lander Championship Series, and that is a year-long culmination of several smaller events that earn points to qualify eight players for a championship. Championship will be held this year sometime in November.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking.
Sometime late October or November. We don't exactly have that out yet. All of the dates are still tentative at this point. But yeah, sometime late this fall. There will be an 8-man tournament. It is seeded, so these points matter as far as your seeding goes, whether you're on the player draw. And it is a best of 5.
Untimed as well.
Top 8. Yeah, it's a best of 5 top 8. So we did this. This is the second Lawn Lander. We did one in 2024, one by Tanner Lighting playing
2023.
2023, excuse me, one by Tanner Lighting playing 4-color Initiative. So let's take a look at that leaderboard and see how we're doing exactly halfway through the season now. In first place, we have Luke Shealy with 34 points. Not in the lead by much, though. Ryan Favor is trailing behind just 1 point at 33. Ryan Brown already with the qualification in third place at 31 points. Zoe following close behind, tied with Mitch Keller. In sixth place is me with 27 points. Sean O'Dean with 25 in seventh. And
already got the qual.
Sean already got that qualification from winning the first Lawn Lander qualifier. Stephen Mahoney, that's you, my friend.
What?
Currently sitting in 8th place. If this season was over right now, that would be your top 8, but the season's not over.
Yep.
It's only halfway
Thank God.
over.
Playing against Luke in round 1 sounds awful.
There are still 4 events left to play, 2 Maple Cups, 2 Lawn Lander qualifiers. 2 players, the winners of those Lawn Lander qualifiers, will go straight into that tournament. The other 4 spots are determined by these points. 9th place, Jeff Moore, Travis Wilcoxon in 10th, Alex Scott in 11th, Tom Wu in 12th, Benji Franklin in 13th, Zach Lavisa 14th, Cameron Ellis right there in 15th, Cole 16th, David Pound 17th, and 18th place is Joe Aarons. All of these players, I believe, still have plenty of time to earn that qualification. You see there, Luke Shealy has played in 4 events and has 34 points. So these players still have a lot of points to earn.
If Luke's not in the final, in the top 8 at the end of the year, I will eat my hat.
Oh, wow. I didn't say that Luke wasn't going to be in. I was simply showing how many points can be earned by playing in the events. And, all of the top 8 players have played in all of the events, and I think that is largely what is making the biggest difference now is showing up to these events and playing in them. Mm-hmm. So,
It's not skill for me.
Oh, Jesus. That is your season points leaderboard right now. Hey, there, we're back. You can see us. So we are going to move on to the next topic, which is, well, it's in the name of the episode, and I've been leading up to it, since the last episode. This is now the season of Zoe. Zoe has won back-to-back events with this 4-color blood deck. We spent quite a bit of time in the last episode talking about what this 4-color blood deck is and what it does. And now I want to focus a little bit more on Zoe herself. First of all, I kind of became obsessed with this Turbo Blood deck. I know I've talked about this in a previous episode of the podcast, but I love the way that this deck is constructed. But watching Zoe pilot it, I see little decisions that matter a lot, and I think that comes from really having an intimate knowledge of your archetype. Zoe has been playing this Turbo Blood deck for probably close to as long as I've been playing Slushy. I would say at least 6 months, if not longer than that. Has learned the deck inside and out. I have watched Zoe, keep some hands that I myself wouldn't keep. And every time I think that maybe it wasn't the correct decision. It pays off, and she's proved
Yeah.
to be correct.
Yeah. And ultimately, I think that shows if you watch the finals of her playing in the Joe King the Joe King tournament,
Yeah.
she was playing against Time Vault.
Yep.
And there was a sequence at the end
Yep.
where
The
she
Thoughtseize.
has Thoughtseize, her opponent plays a mental misstep and she mental missteps back.
Yep.
It was the perfect card to have in hand.
Yep.
I don't know how long she was holding it, but she knew what she had to do.
Yep.
And thought
I
seizing
believe it was
for the
actually
vault.
drawn off the top.
Yeah, it was the perfect card, and that's the reason you have it in the deck.
Sure.
Is just to have it right when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was. Otherwise, I think that player had Time Vault in hand. They had gotten Time Vault.
They had the combo. Zoe knew they had the combo because they had tutored for the combo.
Yeah.
And was able to, sequence exactly correct to break it up and then win.
Yeah.
So yeah, Zoe won the what is it called? The Joe King tournament.
Joe King,
which is like an online webcam tournament. And then just this Father's Day, Zoe again won the Father's Day Canadian Highlander tournament at Mayhem Comics.
Yep.
In Des Moines, back-to-back events. Honestly, I'm terrified. I think in recent games I'm like 0-4 or something against Zoe. Just a force to be reckoned with right now.
You said that she's been able to play through Blood Moon effects without much issue.
I have watched that happen, yes.
Yeah, she just knows exactly what she's doing in almost any situation. Keeps the curve decently low, keeps the threats high power, and knows what to keep and what not to. So like she knows exactly what she has planned with a hand, and then can generally win the game pretty quickly. And if not, she can grind because of the quality of the cards being so high.
Once again, congratulations to Zoe.
Yeah, well done.
Well played. I love to see it.
Moving on from there. So the big thing that's happened that most people, if you're listening to this, you've been aware of this. This was on June 11th, which was what was the 11th? Last Tuesday.
Yep.
So the Tuesday before this tournament. So this is the first tournament really that had these changes. There was a point change.
Points adjustment. A pretty substantial one, honestly.
Yeah, this was a major one. Kind of came out of nowhere. It's the mid-year. And so this is just the mid-year point adjustments. And I like that the council is sort of committed to these semi-annual refreshes.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, back in 2017 or whatever, when we first started playing it, there was only points adjustments, as needed or maybe once a year.
The emergency ones were one-off, and it was kind of the panic button.
Sure. Yeah.
Generally, there's a lot less transparency. The council is way more transparent about what they discuss in their meetings, about the changes that have been made, and kudos to them for that.
Yeah.
Like they've discussed cards that they are close to pointing, that they had discussions but weren't close to pointing.
And they're very thorough with their explanations of each card.
Correct.
Well, which I appreciate.
Robin has been so good at disseminating this information. Ben Wheeler has been very good about disseminating this information.
So let's talk about what those points adjustments are. So what happened? So
the big one right off the top, Ancient Tomb to 1. This is sort of the big change that a lot of people have been waiting for.
Yep.
We want to point fast mana and free fast mana.
Well, I don't know if saying that we want to do that is a little bit aggressive. But I think that Ancient Tomb has this ubiquitous element to it.
Correct.
That the Moxen, they're all 3 points. Generally, they only go in decks that are of their colors.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many different of these archetypes that are pushing this fast mana, and they'll get their 2 Moxen plus whatever, or the 3 Moxen plus 1 point card. Mm-hmm. But they all have Ancient Tomb. Every one of them has Ancient Tomb in them.
Oh yeah.
And so making the players make the choice, I think, is a net positive. I like this change.
I don't think every deck was running Ancient Tomb, so I don't think every deck is going to be hurt by this. Not hurt, but is going to have to make adjustments based on this. But the decks that were running it, that were free rolling Ancient Tomb, now, because they were really relying on a lot of fast mana, now have to make additional choices because their access to unpointed fast mana is just becoming narrower.
Right. Yeah.
And I like that. I like that you have to make choices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The next one, this is sort of a weird one. Time Walk went to 6 points.
Yeah. What prompted this? There's another one that goes with this.
Yeah.
You might as well say it.
Yeah. So Spellseekers also got down to 1.
Yeah. Okay.
And I like these pointings. I've always felt like Recall was more powerful than Time Walk. And there is a world in which Time Walk isn't a combo card. And I think that's what they want to see. They understand that it's powerful. 6 points, still powerful card, but they want to see it push into decks where it's not just comboing, where you're using it like an Explorer, sort of unabashedly, and you're not all in on the Seeker Walk combo.
Sure.
So Spellseeker, in the same vein, they want to see Spellseeker utilized in a way that is for value, where you're getting cool stuff with it, where you're tutoring for it, playing it, getting a cool spell or a relevant spell, and executing on a game plan situationally based on board state.
Yeah, well, I love all of that in theory, but in practice, I don't think that it's realistic. Why would you play one without the other?
I don't think you do.
So just to
they
be
are
clear,
a package
so
deal.
Time Walk and Spellseeker, these two cards we're talking about, used to be 10 points. At this time last year,
Correct.
that was 10 points.
Yeah.
And now those two cards together are only 7, so you get 3 more points. They just keep giving Luke more cards.
Yeah, I don't think that his deck gets a ton of. So his deck is good. I do think that we should just be playing more removal. His deck does die to spot removal, and he himself has sort of stopped playing Mother of Runes because Ephemerate gets stopped by a Path to Exile.
It's weird, right?
There's a lot of interplay there, and I think just increasing the amount of interaction you have in your deck is going to stymie his plans. Obviously, there's a lot more graveyard interaction. There's a lot more board interaction, and I'm just gonna say it. It is not the deck. It is Luke.
Yeah, well.
The reason that Seeker Walk is so powerful in our meta is because it is piloted by one of the best players. And I don't mean the best players in Canlander. I think he's one of the best players locally in any format.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah. He has attached himself to this deck, and he has been very successful with it. And I don't think anybody is under any illusions that he is not part of the reason that it has performed very well.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Yeah, so Seeker Walk picked up a couple more points. What else is on this points adjustment?
So Merchant Skull, there was a couple of cards that went down to 0, and I'm just going to rattle them off and we can talk about them really quick. Merchant Scroll went to 0. Yogg's Will went to 0. And Jite went to 0. So right off the bat,
is Jite the most divisive? Like it was 2, and then it was 1, and then it was 2, and then it was 1, and now it's none.
And now it's none. It's definitely a card that is very powerful in the correct deck, but I do think that we've reached a point where 4 mana plus having a creature plus swinging plus setup plus not having it destroyed, it's sort of like, okay, we understand there's interaction.
It's still very, very good, but I don't know if it's worth a point. Like, you can tap 4 mana and play a Comet and deal your opponent 16 damage. Jite does not do anything close to that.
Jite requires 4 mana to get played and attached. Then you have to attack with it. And then you have the ability to start pinging down X1s or destroying X2s. Yeah. Or gaining a nominal amount of life. Or if completely uninterrupted, you can do some pump shenanigans and win the game.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of interactions for artifacts and enchantments nowadays.
Yep.
That are just really good. You got to be able to deal with an Urza Saga. You got to be able to deal with a Breach. You got to be able to deal with any amount of artifacts that your opponent plays.
There's a lot of incidental ways to kill Jite in a lot of players' decks.
And rightly so.
Merchant Scroll is one that I am pumped about.
Yeah.
I have said before that I feel like I'm the only person in the history of Canadian Highlander to ever register a Merchant Scroll when it was points. So
I'm
glad that I don't have to carry around that shame anymore.
It's... I think you and I both called it that it should be 0 points.
Yeah, so we did an entire series last year. If you go back on the channel, which you should do, watch our old episodes.
You should.
Or don't. I don't care. We did a whole series on the one-pointed cards, and we kind of like we discussed each one-pointed card, whether or not we thought it was deserving of its point or not, and several of these cards that we were like
No.
have actually fallen off of the points list, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to believe in my own headcanon that I had something to do with that personally, but I sincerely doubt that I did.
It's the intentional thinking. We're manifesting.
So I played Merchant Scroll when it was pointed, and now I get to play it when it's not pointed. So that's dope.
I think it's a great card. Probably the best card from what was that?
Homelands.
Aside from High Tide. But I hope that we see some cool stuff with it. Like, I just want to see people play it. I want to see people register it and do cool stuff with it.
Nobody
totally
will except for me. I'm the only one that's going to do
that. Listen, it can get a recall.
Yeah.
It can tutor a recall.
The mystical tutor is only 1 point now.
Yeah, but does Merchant School go to hand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Play both.
Yeah, play both. Yeah, you're probably not wrong. 3 mana, draw 3 cards. I paid a lot more mana to do less.
Yeah. Yog's Will is now 0 points.
Yeah, so
rightly so.
So yeah, Yog's Will is like laughably bad when you look at Underworld Breach.
Correct.
And it's like even worse if you actually watch how the two played. That being said, I am pretty excited that there is a Storm option available that's not pointed now.
Thank God.
I think that's pretty cool. Now I just need for Thassa's Oracle to go down to about 5 points, and I think we have I think we could make a pretty sick Doomsday deck.
Yeah, I think Doomsday.
Just squeeze a couple more tutors in there. I think we could make a pretty sweet Doomsday deck. I
think that Yog's Will is one of those cards that just fell out of favor because the Storm wins with Breach are so much easier.
Yeah.
And Yog's Will. So we're there, a few years ago, one of the best decks in the format, this is before Breach, this is 2018. One of the best decks was Storm with Yog's Will, and the points were 7 points for Black Lotus and 3 points for DT.
Yep.
And then it also ran Yog's Will as 0 points. That deck can exist again.
Yes.
And I think that it should. I don't think it needs. I think there should be a Storm deck that doesn't utilize Underworld Breach.
You get another point now too, right? Oh, DT is 3 still, right?
DT's 3, yeah.
Yeah, because it was 4 for a long time, but now it's back to 3.
Yeah, they kind of pointed the deck into the dirt because it became a menace.
Yeah.
And now they're going, there's another Storm deck that's a menace.
It's better now, right?
Correct. It requires less math. It requires fewer cards. And I think that we should reward Storm players for going back to black. I want to see a dedication.
Do I get a
to
cookie?
black.
Do I get a cookie, or how are you going to reward me?
Yeah, a little kiss.
Oh yeah, baby girl. Woo!
Little kiss.
Was that all? Did we cover all of them? There's still one more, right?
No, there is. I believe one more. Yeah, Natural Order.
Oh right.
It went from 2 points to 1 point.
So
this is sort of the other big change.
The Sandy B spread that used to be 10 points is
10 points.
Is it
6?
3?
No, 5. 5.
It's 5 now?
It's 5 now.
Woo!
Well, actually, the point spread that it runs now that is 5 was, I believe, 15.
Holy cow.
Yeah. The deck has changed nominally. Creature combo's not in a great place right now.
Right.
That is to say that deck's not in a great place.
Well, the way that a lot of people play Canadian Highlander is that they play with their points face up.
Mm-hmm.
So your opponent knows what your points are, and like if you know that your opponent has a Natural Order in their deck and you can play around it, I mean, it's not to be said that you can't do that with any of the other points, right?
Right.
You could do that with any point spread. You could figure out what that deck's weakness is before you even get a shuffle up. But
so yeah, those are the changes with the points. Again, I'll run through them. Ancient Tomb to 1 from 0. Time Walk to 6 from 7. Merchant Scroll to 0 from 1. Spellseeker to 1 from 2. Yog's Will to 0 from 1. Natural Order from 1 to 1 from 2. And Umezawa's Jite to 0 from 1.
I think overall the points are trending down.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the reason for that is the metagame has shifted towards this fast mana aggro or fast mana mid-range kind of format where there's a lot of those kinds of decks.
Yeah.
And I think that the points can reflect that, you know?
Yeah, the initiative sort of being the the catalyst for this, but there are a lot of things where you just want to turbo into it as fast as possible that can take over and win the game. We've got
Yeah.
Minsk and Boo, we've got the broadside bombardiers that
Yeah.
can just sort of like immediately have an impact that wins a game.
Yeah. Any of the initiative creatures, Comet.
Absolutely, Comet is
Um,
busted,
yeah.
and
Powering out those super powerful threats really, really early is kind of
and
where you want.
we understand that individual card power level is going to increase over time.
Yeah.
Not much we can do about it, but I think we can look into changing how fast players can play those. So the last thing that we wanted to talk about was there was Modern Horizons 3.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a ton to talk about with Modern Horizons 3.
Yeah, we could probably make this its own thing.
Yeah, we probably could. You know, I've had some fun testing out a couple of the cards from Modern Horizons. Like I said, I made a red-green Eldrazi deck.
Yes.
That I played Tron in Modern for a long time. Played Tron and Pauper for a long time. Yep. And I've always wanted to try to recreate that vibe in Canadian Highlander, but it was never really possible. You always end up playing like this weird, like rampy deck.
They want you to cast 7-drops. Like there's a new Ancient Tomb that like rewards you for playing high mana value creatures.
I was pretty consistently making 6 or 7 mana on turn 3.
Yeah, if you dedicate yourself to it.
Yeah.
There's some obvious restrictions to it. I think that the whole design is sweet. This is what I think a Modern Horizons set should be, which isn't that it should be powering up existing. Like obviously there's a little bit of new power for existing decks, but I like new stuff. I like new cards to come into Modern, to come into Legacy that are higher power, where we go, okay, there's a deck that exists that's maybe 60% or 80% built out, and now it is 95.
Yeah. Something that I think that this Modern Horizon set did really, really well was that it juiced up archetypes that have fallen out of favor.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave really sweet stuff to Burn, for example. Burn got some really, really sweet stuff. They gave really, really sweet stuff to Tron. Mm-hmm. They gave some really, really good stuff to. I know there's more.
I mean, Merfolk got some cards.
Merfolk got some sweet cards.
Yes. It's all in all just like it does beef up some of the lower powered stuff or some stuff that requires some synergy, not just raw power. And the free cards aren't busted in half. I'm just going to say it right now. Like, I don't think that they're broken. The requirement to sacrifice a non-token creature of the associated color is a big deal. I hope we don't see the likes of Fury or Grief or Solitude or Subtlety again. I hope that was a one-off. I hope that was a one-off, and that we don't see the likes of that level of power of card design in the near future.
Yeah, I got to play a bunch of the Eldrazi. That was pretty sweet. Also, at the Father's Day tournament, the only Modern Horizons 3 card that I've put in Jeskai so far is Flage, Titan of Fire's Fury. Yeah. And that card is bananas.
Yeah.
So I had a game against Jeff Moore, I think it was in round 3, game 2, where he played a Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, which is a card that I don't ever want to see on the other side of the table, but I had a Caracas in my hand. And I went, okay, yeah, I'll leave the Thalia alone. I have the Caracas in my hands. This card's not going to be a problem for me. And then I drew my card for turn, and it was Flage, and I went, I have a Caracas in my hand.
Yeah, and then you can Caracas it.
Yeah, I proceeded to cast and bounce Flage for the next 4 turns.
Flage
completely. Not only did I kill the Thalia, but I killed 3 other creatures as well.
The card is so messed up, but it's messed up in the way that I think that they designed it correctly, because it costs 3 mana. It doesn't give you any additional card advantage. So the issue.
Whoa! That's tons of card advantage.
Okay, yes, but you know what I mean.
I 4-for-0'd my opponent with it.
With a Caracas, though.
Sure.
I think we know what was doing the heavy lifting there.
It was a Splinterton situation.
The thing that I like about it is that they basically committed to this concept of we have a Titan. We know the cost of it now. It's never 2. It's generally always 3, and it has 2 it functions as a single spell.
Have you seen the video of how that card was made?
Of Flage?
Yeah.
No.
That's Mason Clark's card.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that
So
makes sense.
they tried a couple of different things when they were there. Like they hired all these like MTGO personalities like
Sure.
streamers and such and grinders.
Yeah.
They hired
A
them
lot
to
of modern
go
players.
and design cards. So him and Brad Nelson and I forget who else were there doing this
Yeah.
thing. And on their last night, they had tried a couple of different things in the Boros God spot, and nothing worked. They didn't like it, so they scrapped it.
Sure.
They cut the card from the set, and they were like, we're just going to do this other thing instead. And then on their last night there, they were at a restaurant, and Mason Clark goes, "What if it's just Lightning Helix?" And so when they got there the next day, which was their last day there, they did the Lightning Helix thing, and they were like, "This is perfect."
Yeah.
So that's
And it
how
makes
Flage
sense.
got made.
If
And I'm
there was
sorry if you see this and I fucked that story up. Feel free to connect me to correct me.
Yeah.
That's fine because I only watched that video once, but that's the gist of what happened. Have you had a chance to play with any of the Modern Horizons?
Oh,
cards?
no,
Yeah,
not
you
yet.
have not yet.
No.
I've played in 2 tournaments so far since they got released, and I've had a blast playing them. But what are some cards that you yourself are excited to try out?
Obviously, White of the Reliquary, very powerful card. It tutors lands. It finds you Bizarre Baghdad. That's sort of pretty easy. Fanatic of Ronas, as a way
That's
to
the 2-mana dork that can tap for 4 if you have
2
ferocious.
mana 1/4 that can tap for a green, or if you have Ferocious, which is if you have a creature with power 4 or greater, it taps for quad green. And then it has Eternalize for 2 green, which, if you're unfamiliar with that, is not casting a spell. It cannot be countered. And then it is a 4/4, so it makes its own stipulation to hit that mana, which is great.
Oh, I didn't even think about that aspect of it before. You can just put that thing into your graveyard on purpose and pay 4 mana for it.
Yeah.
I did not think of that.
I will block a Ragavan all day with it. And if you want to kill it with extra spells, go for it. It's going to come back because I'll hit 4 mana. Psychic Frog, I love Psychotog. Chthonian Nightmare, getting another recurring nightmare that is only 2 mana.
That card seems sweet.
Yeah, and I think the easy answers are just like the 1 mana busted stuff: Ocelot Pride, Nethergoyf, all the.
So speaking of Ocelot
blockers.
Pride, Travis's deck. He got so many cool cards from the set, and we played twice at the Father's Day tournament. Once in the Swiss, he beat me, and then once in the top 8, I beat him. And let me tell you, that the Ocelot Pride specifically, that card, like, every time it came down, I tried to kill it. But there was one time where he had it, and I didn't have a way to kill it, and it spiraled out of control so quickly.
Yeah. Why does it have so many keywords? Why does it have so many words on it?
Yeah. Yeah, that card has a ton of text on it.
Yeah. I think it's
basically Ancestral Recall.
It is an X1. It dies to everything in Modern. Like, I understand why it has as much words on it as it does, because it does die to a stiff breeze.
He also got the Knight, the Phantom Knight, the 2 mana white creature that comes down.
Oh, White Orchid Phantom.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, the strictly better Thunder Elemental or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, flying first strike 2/2 for, instead of 1 white, just double white, and it also destroys a non-basic.
It also Assassin's Trophies a land.
Yeah, why not? Anything cool in your books?
Yeah, I mean, the Eldrazi I think was the thing that I was the most excited about.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of other cards that I want to try in various places. So if you check out our Patreon, there's a link to it down in the description. I've been updating my old deck lists with new cards from Modern Horizons. I posted one deck that is completely new, that is made up mostly of Modern Horizons cards, and then I have another. I have a couple more updates to do, and I have another whole deck that I have to post still that's not ready yet. So. Modern Horizons, earlier, well, actually in the last episode when Stefan said that I'm a serial deck changer. That's like when a new set comes out, I make like tons of decks. I change everything. New sets drive me crazy, and there's a new one every month. And sometimes I just have to pick and choose to ignore a set. Like I ignored Murders of Karlov Matter.
Same. Yeah.
Look what happened. Shame on me.
Yeah. we all have to, like, you can't engage with 100% of everything, and it's okay to miss something and then go back and,
Yeah.
you know, figure out what you missed or what you want to include now.
Yeah, a bunch of the Assassin's Creeds,
Yeah,
spoilers have been coming out. I know nothing about Assassin's Creed, never played Assassin's Creed. I'm doing my best to ignore the set. I still look at the spoilers and read them and go, "Oh yeah, that's cool," or "That's cool," but
yeah.
I haven't got as invested in it yet as like I did with Modern Horizons. Modern
There's
Horizons,
some powerful legendaries.
I did a full,
Yeah,
in the Modern Horizon. So
yeah. I think I'm spent.
Assassin's Trophy, right? Yeah, for the time being, anyway. Assassin's
Assassin's Creed.
Creed is just like it's like a small set, right?
Yeah,
Like aftermath style.
it very much. I think
Yeah,
there's like 80 cards in it.
yeah. So when I do decide to finally take a look at it, or some of the cards come out, hopefully it won't be, you know, that much of a task.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that oppressive, and a lot of it's reprints too. There's going to be something like 20 new cards that are actually worth something.
Oh well, cool. All right, well that does it for
Yeah.
this two-parter. We look forward to seeing you next time here on the Magic Dads podcast. If you listen, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure to turn those notifications on so that we get to annoy you every time we come out with a new episode. And with that out of the way, we just want to remind you that
Proud of you. Thanks, everybody.
bye.
Bye bye.